A material cost in a practice is the cost of replacing staff. And one of the bigger people mistakes practices make is not properly onboarding and training a new hire, thus leading to more replacements. You wouldn't think so given the cost, but it does happen a lot. My guest today helps her clients with a variety of HR needs, including onboarding and training, and she's going to help us understand how to get onboarding right. I'm Carl White, principal at Market Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. It's usually what they want, but I think care is better when it's the provider of care who also owns the practice, because then every decision that's got to get made, whether it's business, clinical, whatever, is made by the same people who have to turn around and take care of patients. So we can feel pretty confident that patient care is going to always factor into whatever the decisions are being made. My guest today is Lorianne Isaacson. Lorianne is the founder of Personnel Matters, a company dedicated to helping business owners create stability, structure, and scalability through strong people systems. With decades of experience in operations, healthcare, and organizational development, Lorianne is known for turning chaos into clarity and building documented processes, clear rules, and accountability frameworks that allow businesses to thrive without owner burnout. Through Personnel Matters, she partners with small to mid-sized companies to design company blueprints and owner legacy frameworks that reduce turnover, improve performance, and create confident teams so owners can step out of daily firefighting and into sustainable growth and lasting impact. Lorianne, thanks for coming on Practice Care.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's such like a, on the one hand, I think it's like a topic that punches above its weight. I bet you it's not something a lot of people think of. I don't know, because it doesn't happen all that often, or it's just sort of underappreciated. But yeah, if you don't get this right, you're just going to be in a lot of pain. So I've been looking forward to this topic since we came up with it, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I want to start where I start with every guest, which is to say, pretty good bio, but that was brief. That's what I asked for. So fill in the gaps. Help us get to know you a bit better, please.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. I've spent the last 20 years working in the healthcare industry, and then probably about 30 years working in human resources, starting out originally in the hospitality. So I was
Okay.
in the hotel world and middle management there.
Hmm.
But back in 2007, when we saw the world crashing, and then in 2008 and 2009, is where the doctors and the practices, the small private practices, were very, very affected by the state of the union, essentially.
Mm.
Insurance wasn't paying, they were busy bailing out the banks. And I was a property manager in two very large buildings in downtown Los Angeles. And we had at least 30 to 40% of the building was occupied by private practices,
Okay.
right? So whether it was physical therapist, chiropractor, family practice, pediatrician, dentist, acupuncture, they were going out of business faster than they could say their business name.
Wow.
And what I found is, of course, I had a vested interest in keeping the client in the building.
Hmm.
So I met with many of these owners, and I found one for one the trouble they had is they were so dependent on insurance. They didn't know how to do cash. They
Hmm.
didn't know how to keep good staff. And the few people that did know cash, were so stressed out that they'd end up quitting. So they had this huge turnover.
Mm.
So that's actually when I started my business, Personnel Matters, in 2009. And I would just help these small businesses putting in the structure so that they could hire really good staff, but
Hmm.
know what good staff is, and then really convert them from being a good hire to a passionate employee. And
Hmm.
that's really what I want to talk about today is
Yeah.
building in the passion, getting the employee to see the vision, getting them on truly on board with the owner's vision.
Hmm.
Because just because they're a good hire doesn't mean they have the heart.
Correct. Correct. And on board with the owner's vision presumes there is a vision, which I don't think we're going to, that would be a different episode. You need to have one.
There's
Yeah.
there's many series we could do here.
Exactly. We could do a whole series. So good. So thank you for that. I want to jump right in. The title of the episode is Getting Onboarding Right. So let's go. What does it take to get onboarding right?
Okay. Great question there. So the first is people need to know what on board means,
There you
right?
go.
So it actually comes back from the old days when ships were built out of wood, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Hundreds of years ago, and they would have to walk up the plank to the ship,
Hmm.
and you'd say all aboard or get on board. So that really is getting the passenger onto the ship, right?
Hmm.
And then when a passenger gets on the ship, they get a whole orientation of the ship. And if you don't get an orientation of the ship, similar like the Titanic, you end up going down and nobody knows what to do. Right?
Yes.
So that's really, if you think of onboarding, it is that important that people understand who you are, what you are, why you are, and then they can mentally get invested in your vision as an employer.
So I'll bet you, because it's opening my mind, I'll bet you a lot of, you know, this is how I thought of it until you started talking. So of course I think other people think the way I do. You think of onboarding as a brief stage. Immediately
Right.
after the hire, the first, I don't know, 30 or 60 days, come learn the job, learn where the bathroom is, learn how the, whatever it is this
Mhm.
discrete stage that, and that's all it is. But you're saying you're going to fill in the gaps, but it's broader than that. It's before that and after that.
It's first impression. So just think of it kind of like dating, right?
Okay.
And courting somebody, right? And it's a funny analogy, but it's a very true analogy.
Hmm.
When a applicant applies for a job, they
Hmm.
have really one thing in mind, whether they're, 18, 19, 20, in their mid 30s or in their late 40s, and they're looking for a job. There's one product that they have in mind, and that is they need to get a paycheck to be able to feed their family.
Hmm.
So they are going to sell you as an owner or your office manager on why you need to hire them.
Hmm.
They've done a good job. Let's say you now hire them. They've
Yeah.
done a good job on selling you.
Yeah.
But what happens then is within a week, the office manager throws them on at front desk or a modality tech or a dental assistant or whatever it is, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And they quickly get a quick tour of the office, and this is how we do things here. And maybe they'll get a check-in every day for the first week, and then maybe once a week for the next couple of weeks. But who tells them what success looks like? Who tells them what the vision is? Who tells them what the company culture is? Who actually makes sure that they're buying into the company values and the
And just
vision?
and just to ask the obvious question, why are those things important?
It's just like if you're in a football team,
Hmm.
you want to win.
Hmm.
And everybody has to be on that same page.
Hmm.
Everybody needs to know what it takes to win. We
Hmm.
didn't start our practices so that we could just see people and have something to do with our time and stuff. Every doctor I have ever talked to and every great teammate I've ever talked to
Hmm.
has a story of why they got into healthcare.
Hmm.
They had a personal experience, a family member had a personal experience where a doctor helped them.
Hmm.
And so there's this passion. Now, the passion could be people related or it could be business, right? You have many people nowadays that are very entrepreneurial and they want to build a practice and then build three or four or five more.
Hmm.
But if you wade through all of the statistics and all the entrepreneurial concepts, there is a reason why they do what they do,
Hmm.
and they have a bigger picture. And a mission statement or a vision isn't necessarily going to explain it. So the onboarding is really how do you, as an owner, convey your passion and the reason why and your story. There's a great book. It's called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. And he
Okay.
really talks about company culture, right? And he was the owner of Zappos before
Yeah.
Amazon
Yeah.
again. And his whole point is you can have a vision and you can have a mission, but if your staff aren't on the same page as you, then it's just a disconnect. It's a
Hmm.
job. You're showing up to strangers and strangers are working for you,
Hmm.
right? Onboarding is actually, I really say about 6 to 12 months. That is
Okay.
truly what onboarding is. Now, the first 90 days is the most important, but on day one, the new hire is asking one question and one question only. Did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
And will I show up tomorrow? That's all they're asking,
Hmm.
right?
And yeah, keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so now it's you as the office manager or the business owner making sure you have the infrastructure set up. And that's
Hmm.
what Personnel Matters does is we have our HR Essentials package which builds out your vision, your mission, your goals, where you're going, what is your story, and then we create all the onboarding. But it starts with a job description and expectations, but
Hmm.
let's make it a bit personal too,
Hmm.
right? Happens before the new hire arrives, right? Do all the staff know her name? Do all the staff greet her?
Hmm.
Does she really see what it's like? And that next 2 days is this is what it's like to work here. We're
Hmm.
not even going to talk to you about front desk. We're not going to talk to you about billing and collections. You're going to just see what the patient experience is. You're going to see what the staff, the employee experience. So the office manager, as much as the patient experience is important. More important than the patient experience is the staff experience.
Yeah.
Because if the staff have a great experience, they in turn will give a great patient experience.
Yeah. So I want to
So
clarify this couple of days, is that after hire or like as part of the hiring process?
it's there's a pre-hiring checklist that we've developed that has just turned out very, very successful with our clients. I mean, we've used it in about 80, 90 clients,
Hmm.
and it really handles their turnover rate, right?
Hmm.
So before the onboarding, something very important is an owner needs to ask themselves, and we'll provide this as a little cheat sheet because it's going to get all your listeners really thinking, is what is the personality of our practice, right?
Which
You can
sounds like an important question, but also an abstract one. So keep going.
And it's one that most people do not think about
Hmm.
because they quickly do their mission and vision and we're this and we're here to give our patient this incredible experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But really, what who makes up whom? The staff make up the experience, right?
Hmm.
So you have to really know what type of people you need. So you could have a practice personality like the clinical precision practice or a high energy wellness hub or the boutique healing sanctuary, the entrepreneurial growth practice, the family oriented community practice, or
Hmm.
the results driven performance clinic. And you see these things, in hospitals, right? But for instance, we have, again, I'll get these to you, and they can go to my website and they can see this. But
Sure.
like the family-oriented community practice, the personality type and the personality of that office is stable, loyal, community rooted. So the people that they would hire would be reliable, steady, and relational.
Hmm.
So the office serves generations of family, has long-term staff, feels like everyone knows your name, and values consistency. So
Hmm.
what would be the best fit would be a loyal person,
Hmm.
somebody who's very patient, somebody who's about we, not I, right? Very
Hmm.
team oriented, and long term thinkers, right? They want a stable job. But if you're looking at the resume and you're seeing, I mean, a classic Memphis personality for this type of office would be anybody that's a job
Job
hopper
I was just
or
going to
somebody
say.
who's very, very highly ambitious and a
Hmm.
ladder climber, right? Or somebody who's seeking rapid advancement,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that wouldn't be now that there's nothing wrong with those people that are very ambitious and seeking rapid advancement, but you might not have that, right?
Bad fit.
Or
Right. It's about fit.
it might not be a fit, right? Or the results driven performance, right?
Hmm.
The personality of the clinic is very competitive and outcome focused, right?
Hmm.
The office treats maybe athletes and high performers, tracks measurable outcomes, prioritizes results over comfort, sets aggressive goals, right?
Right.
So the energy of the office is very focused, intense, and goal driven.
Hmm.
So the best fits for that would be a thick-skinned, metric-driven, competitive, high personal standards personality,
Yeah. So I
right?
imagine, I
Yeah.
wonder, I'll bet you don't find what we're describing now all the time. And the reason I say that is because I come from, I say I did time in large corporate America, spent time in like enough time, professional HR departments, having to hire people. We screw this up all the time. Like
A hundred
and it's funny, one of the companies I worked at, there were numerous divisions. There was no one company culture. Each division had its own. And
right.
so, and looking back, I mean, if I were to ask somebody to, the way I would say it is this: I could line up 10 people in Division X who ought to have knowledge of that division's culture, and I'd line them up and I'd say, please describe this division's culture. I'd probably get numerous different answers, which is
Yes.
bad. But that's at the
Yeah.
corp where you would think, we talked a lot about culture. We certainly did. There were even culture exercises to define it, whatever. But at the large corporate level, screwed it up all the time. Um,
Yeah.
and so maybe I've got it backwards, but my logical extension is if they screw it up, small business land like doubly screws it, like just doesn't it screws it up. Doesn't even think about it. It's
They
just a
don't
blind
even
spot. It's just a mega massive blind spot. Is that
no,
right?
it is 100% right. They don't think about it. And the truth is a lot of the family practices or private practices. I mean, if you think about it, maybe they're 15 staff to 35 staff to 100 staff, not much more than that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still pretty small. When you're at 100 staff, you probably have several different offices.
Yeah.
So the office itself is maybe
Right.
10 to staff and you might have 3 or 4 offices.
Right.
Um, so each office is going to have their own personality, also in the location it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in Orlando, Florida, that and you have another office over in Polk City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Polk City's farm town, nothing's happening out there, but then you have Orlando
Mm-hmm.
and it's hustling and bustling and busy. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
office within the same practice.
Yeah.
But owners don't think about it. And 99% of owners hire an office manager who is not HR trained. And that is totally fine. But that's where our business comes in because
Yeah.
we work on training the office manager to think human resources, but not corporate human resources. Take the word
Mm.
human.
Yeah.
We look at the human aspect because the resource is the person,
Yeah.
but everybody has their personality and everybody has how they like to be treated.
Yeah.
And somebody that's a great fit for me might not be a good fit for another person,
Yeah.
right? So it's important. And I'm going to throw in an onboarding checklist too,
Great. Well,
that your listeners can have access to. It's kind of generic, we do all the really personalized and custom stuff, but
sure.
I
That's
think
okay.
this will get them to open their minds.
Yeah. 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 We'll put
Yeah.
that in the show notes. We'll put a link to it. So we'll make
Right.
that available. What kind of onboarding mistakes do you typically see when you start up with a new client? And the
Okay,
reason
so
I ask is because so a listener can go, oh my God, we do that too. Like not in a
yeah,
shameful way, but just to say, oh, let's try to open up some eyes.
yeah, and again, I've worked with probably 80, 90 practices in the last 10, 15 years,
Hmm.
and I would say the number one is not having an onboarding.
Yeah.
They have they have an old employee handbook that might be
Hmm.
outdated
Hmm.
or dated 3, 4 years ago. So that already gives somebody a sign. It's like
Sure.
looking at an old pair of used shoes, right?
Right.
People judge people by their shoes or women by their purses, right? So if it's all
Okay.
ragtag, you've made your decision in about that 5 or 7 seconds.
Yeah.
But the next is also not having a job description and a real clarity on what that position is supposed to do.
Hmm.
And then they don't define what success looks like.
Hmm.
So I would say if your listeners just walked away doing three things,
Okay.
got an updated employee handbook,
Hmm.
got updated true job descriptions, not
Hmm.
generic.
Mm.
ChatGPT is wonderful, but we don't need a bunch of
Yeah,
generic.
seriously.
Your employee will know that ChatGPT made that job
Yeah, it's
description.
true.
So really make it and get your checklists in for the positions. We do all of that with the company blueprint. And then define what success looks like. What do you expect of this person in their first 5 days, 10 days, right? Because once they can be there all week and then they're still deciding whether they're coming back that
Mm.
following Monday.
Hmm.
But generally, if you get them through that 3, 4 week mark and they now have some goals set for them of
Yeah.
what success looks like, do that. Uh, and then really the follow up on um, how they're doing. Let them know what they're doing right.
Hmm.
Get what you push. If you push rightness on a child or on even an adult or in your marriage, and you say all the things that you love about the person or what is right, what they did good, you're
Hmm.
going to get more of that because
Yeah.
deep down, we're all people pleasers. We like to make sure people are happy with us,
Yeah.
right? And then just pick one thing that week that you now want them to focus on improving.
Hmm.
So if they're really good at communicating with the patients, or they're really good at explaining the modalities, or they're really good at um, the actual patient care and stuff, really point that out. Man, Sarah, you're amazing at getting into communication with the patient.
Hmm.
And I love that about you. Now, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to put a little attention on all the paperwork and the admin side of what needs to be done because
Hmm.
we need to tie this all in together. Otherwise, it's going to create a bad patient experience at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, so now that they're connecting, because their strength is patient experience,
Yeah.
they're connecting the importance of the admin,
Hmm.
create a good patient experience at the end,
Yeah.
or also how how well they do their job, how it affects the person that sits next to them,
Yeah.
whether that's front desk to billing,
Hmm.
right? Front desk to the doctor,
Yeah.
right? They're all intertwined. So I would say work on those three things. Those are quick takeaways.
Hmm.
Use ChatGPT to create the outline of the job description, but then go in there and really put what you want that position to do.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, it makes me wonder, hearing your answer, are there any early sort of telltale signs that your onboarding process is broke? Like, we have a high quit rate, they last a month and then they leave, or that, very vague, they just don't seem to get it. Or I'm not
Yeah.
sure, like, is there where you hear that, these complaints, you go, I'll tell you, it's the onboard, but the average person just doesn't see it. Like, what are some signals of you've got a problem in this phase of somebody?
Great question. I just did a workshop it was probably about 80 doctors,
Okay.
maybe I guess maybe 45 doctors, and then they all had their office managers with them. So there was
Okay.
about 85 people in the room.
Hmm.
And I asked the question, if have you ever hired somebody and then within 2 weeks known that it was not going to work out?
Mm,
I would say 90% of the hands went up.
interesting.
Right? And it was mainly the doctor's hands that went up, not the office manager's hands, right? Probably
Interesting.
because the office managers are doing the hiring, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to say that they failed that. But listen, there's two sides of hiring. There's the cope because we haven't found a lot of good people, so we end up having to quickly hire. So imagine you have a boat and
Hmm.
what you need staff in there the boat has a whole bunch of holes in it.
Hmm.
So right now you just need a warm body
Warm body.
putting it
Yes.
on that hole. That's your cope, right?
Hmm.
And that is where you get high turnover.
Hmm.
Okay. Because you're just quickly hiring a warm body that answers the questions quickly.
Hmm.
That is not true recruiting. Recruiting is identify your office personality, identify the best staff that you've had and
Hmm.
what their strengths are and what their weaknesses, and you get a person that fits in right there,
Mm. Sort of like a
right?
composite to sort of compare applicants
That's
to.
right. I mean, I say to my husband, you're my yin of my yang,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm this high powered, I go getter, I have goals, I have everything. I never sit down and I'm never complacent. And he's chill and relaxed, and thank God for that. Could you imagine in this world?
Yeah.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So you really need to find like it for your front desk, they're mainly going to be working with the office manager, right?
Hmm.
So you need to find somebody who works really well with your office manager, but is also quite a people person
Hmm.
and has no problem on controlling um, the office environment and the patients.
Got it.
But so to answer your question, if you can fill those holes really quickly,
Hmm.
fine, you're going to. But as those holes get filled, keep going on the recruitment and really look for good quality and always coach up with the
Hmm.
existing staff or you coach them out, right?
Yeah.
And you replace with a better quality person. So it always goes quantity, quality, viability, right? So you get as
Interesting.
many people in there to fill that, and then now you get more quality people because
Right.
now you know what works. Again, going back to the dating analogy,
Mm.
your first time ever dating someone, you don't know what you want.
Hmm.
By your third or fourth date, you kind of know a little bit what you like about this person and
Yeah.
maybe what you don't. But by the third or fourth person that you've dated,
Yes.
you now can look at all the qualities that you loved on all these four people,
Hmm.
and you can look at the qualities that you didn't love, and then you can do the what they must have, what they need to have, and what you would like them to have,
Yeah.
right? The like to have is where you create the marriage and you create the relationship, right?
Hmm.
But I always say you can't teach personality. You
Hmm.
can teach your job and stuff, but if you get that personality fit, the rest is easy.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Understood. Man, we covered a lot of ground. I think the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway for me is that it's a mistake to think of onboarding as a discrete 30-day, 30 to 60-day time period. Um,
Yeah.
even if other important things are in place, like it's longer than that, including it starts before that. That's a big eye opener for me. Um, is there anything you think we should have touched on that we didn't get to? We did cover a lot of ground, but I know could be a year.
So
I
much.
get it,
So
but
much.
just in this particular context that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the next part of this onboarding that is so vitally important, and it's worth your listeners staying up at night for an hour and putting the time in.
Mm,
But take that job description of that position
mhm.
and figure out what the policies and the procedures are.
Okay.
Because once somebody knows what's expected of them, they now have the policies, and policies are only a bridge to communicate.
Hmm.
If somebody doesn't know why a rule is in place, they won't comply with it. But if they understand why a rule is in place or why we do something the way we do it,
Hmm.
you'll generally get compliance,
Hmm.
right? And there's no better example than showing taking a kid who's just about to get his license and taking him up to the ICU and showing the people that were in car crashes that didn't follow the laws, whether it was drinking, or maybe they were the victim of somebody
Yeah.
that didn't
Yeah.
follow laws, right?
Yeah.
So it is a train wreck, it is a car crash, right?
I thought you were
So
going to
people,
say take them to driving school. I didn't think you were going to say take them to the ICU.
Yeah, well, I took my kids to my daughter just started driving. She's 16
Ah,
and so I had her go to the ICU and they have a wing where, the car victims are and many of them are not expected to make it. But it's the point is like rules are rules are rules. We
hmm
grow up as children with our parents putting rules in place.
hmm
I personally taught my children to ask me to understand why the rule is there,
hmm
right? Like just the simple thing of why people take their shoes off when they enter a house.
hmm
Children will copy what their parents do, but if they never understand the why, so that's the same with onboarding an employee. You know, if the office manager or the business owner says this is why we do it, or this is the way we do it, they'll do it.
hmm
But if the person doesn't understand why we do it that way
hmm
and why the owner is so passionate, you're not necessarily going to get the buy-in. So you
Correct.
just have an employee, you don't have somebody who's actually there.
Yeah.
So I would say, you don't have to have 600 different policies, but every position should have 8 to 12 basic policies. And then they should have the procedures and the how to.
Yeah.
So again, our company Blueprint Print does all of that for
hmm
you. And we tailor make and customize, and we've done every type of practice imaginable.
Okay.
So we really have a lot of the best practices from these growing practices, and then we bring that in and put that in your system. But if your office manager or you or the spouse can do it, by all means do it.
hmm
But most people run into time as the issue.
I find myself saying sometimes, it's not often, but when it comes up, I look at the situation, I go, I'm not sure I care what the rules are, but can you just tell me what they are, please?
Yeah.
Just so
There-
at least yeah, I mean, I just, anyway, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so where can somebody get started? And the context is, we've got a listener and they're listening to you and they say to themselves, Lorianne's right. We have turnover to this. We got to fix this. Um, and I'll throw in one. And so the question is, where can somebody start something really simple? And the thing I'll throw in is to say, pick the employee that you think is your best one, and pick
Mhm.
one and write down why. And maybe there's two columns. One is because they get the technical competencies of the job, and the other is because of the fit. And I would just maybe it's just the columns fit. It's all the soft stuff. Good,
That's
they fit
right.
the personality, they fit the goals, they fit the whatever, and just look at that and go, that's what we need more of, or just and then look at other people and go, where are the gaps? Maybe that's what I'll throw in there. What would you
You
say?
literally took the words
Did
out of
I?
my mouth.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Because I like
did.
when you said it, like pick the best one in the office and try to get more of that, you know?
Yeah. See who's the most successful
Yeah.
and see what it is you love about them. Then take your next employee that's you really count on
hmm
and what you love about them. Then take the ones that are broken,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
a great word that everybody could look up in the dictionary and look at uh see how this applies, but it's called curating, right?
Curate. Yeah.
Curate.
Yeah.
And, uh, just imagine, you're a walnut tree grower,
hmm
and every year you need to go in and you need to cut out the dead branches and the low hanging
Yeah.
branches that are gonna, as the wind picks up, if those branches aren't out, it's gonna split that tree in half.
hmm
And what happens to a split tree? It
Yeah.
dies, right?
Yeah.
Similar with the business, right? So I would say start with make a list of all the important positions that you have.
Okay.
Take your best employee and find out what it is that works well with that employee. Why do they work well with you as a business owner or you as an office manager? What makes them that?
hmm
Then do the whole analysis with your other staff. I wouldn't say write down anything negative because that's just a disaster waiting to happen in case you left a
Yeah,
piece of
it's
paper.
true.
Yeah, so just don't write down the negative, but write down all the positive and then what you um, would like that position to be doing.
Okay.
Because now you're creating clarity in your mind of who you need for that position and what you expect of that. The
Yeah.
minute you name your product, and the product in this case is a good hire,
Hmm.
a qualified hire, that's the product of the recruitment,
Yeah.
is the minute you name the product and it is very clear in your mind and you want that and you know what you want, you will get it
Yeah.
every single time. It never fails. So
Yeah.
I would say start there, and start, just get your company personality.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Figure
then after that, it's how do we find that more? And I guess if you say to yourself, you pick somebody and they're amazing after you do this, and then you say to yourself, God, we were lucky to get that one. Well, that's the problem. You got to take a look out of it and fix your hiring so that it's, but yeah, anyway. Um,
Yeah,
Lorianne, thanks for coming on Practice Care. Very, very more than I expected.
I'm
I
so
was all
happy.
set to get into the nuts and bolts and tactical stuff of onboarding, and I was wrong. And I'm glad I was because this is much more interesting.
Yeah, and people could hit up my website, check it
Hmm.
out. We offer a 30-minute and a 45-minute free call. They can talk to Marcella, Aurelia, or myself.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we just give real simple guidance and people go on their merry way. And many times people ask for our help, and we have offer all sorts of different
Sure.
packages that are a fit for the practice, and we can help you out. But I think if you just start with the basics of name what you want, you'll get it.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
And we've got your contact information. We're going to get that into the show notes for this episode, along with you'll send me the link to your checklist. We'll add that as well. And that way, anybody who wants to contact you or get the checklist, they now have another way to do it. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Carl.
Yes, with pleasure. Two quick points before we wrap up. First, if you are someone like Lorianne or us and you serve private practice owners, or you're one yourself, and you think you've got some experience on the business side of private practice and others would benefit from, and I know I've been saying this a lot, but don't overthink that. Something you could think is really simple and who else would be interested? I promise you, lots of other people would be interested because they're struggling with it. So in the show notes for each and every episode, there's a link, a couple of clicks, take you a minute, tell us what's on your mind so that we can get you scheduled as soon as possible. And finally, Practice Care is one word. If you haven't subscribed yet, what's the matter with you? Subscribe. Easy to find. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, every player. Once a week, we drop a new episode. And so subscribing is the easiest way to stay up to date on all of them. Thanks very much. And until next time.